is Maria Montessori? Maria Montessori was a brilliant mind and one of the greatest influences in education and human rights in the 20th century. As a medical doctor, educator, and visionary, Dr. Montessori's groundbreaking work revolutionized how we understand child development and learning. Her commitment to respecting the dignity and potential of every individual has left a lasting legacy, inspiring educators worldwide and reshaping how we approach education even today. Maria Montessori was born on August 31st, 1870, in the town of Chiaravalli, Italy. Her father, Alessandro, was an accountant in the civil service, and her mother, Rinaldi Stepani, was well educated and had a passion for reading. The Montessori family relocated to Rome in late 1874, and in 1876, young Maria began attending the local state school. As she advanced her studies, she started to challenge the societal limitations placed on women's career choices. Between 1886 and 1890, she pursued her education with the goal of becoming an engineer, a rare path for girls at the time, as most who continued their studies focused on classical subjects rather than technical training. Upon completing her secondary education, Maria's parents encouraged her to pursue teaching, one of the few professions widely available to women. However, she was determined to study medicine and become a doctor. Facing opposition from her father and rejection from the head of the medical school, Maria Montessori instead enrolled at the University of Rome in 1890 to study physics, mathematics, and natural sciences. After earning her diploma 2 years later, she gained entry into the Faculty of Medicine, becoming one of the first female students in Italy and the first woman to study medicine at the University of Rome. Maria Montessori distinguished herself not only by being a woman in a male-dominated field, but also by her deep commitment to mastering her studies. She earned multiple scholarships, and along with the income that she made from private tutoring, she was able to finance much of her education herself. Her time in medical school was challenging. She encountered discrimination from her male peers and was required to conduct dissections alone, as mixed gender classes were not permitted for such work. Despite these obstacles, her perseverance paid off, and on July 10, 1896, she became one of Italy's first female doctors, earning recognition across the country. In September of the same year, she was asked to represent Italy at the International Congress for Women in Berlin, and in her speech to the Congress, she developed a thesis for social reform, arguing that women should be entitled to equal wages with men. Upon returning to Rome in November 1896, Maria Montessori began working as a surgical assistant at Santo Spirito Hospital, where she primarily cared for the poor, particularly children. As a doctor, she stood out not only for diagnosing and treating illnesses, but also for ensuring that her patients were warm and well nourished. In 1897, she volunteered for a research program at the psychiatric clinic of the University of Rome, where she collaborated with Giuseppe Montesano, with whom she later developed a romantic relationship. As part of her work, she visited asylums in Rome, searching for children with mental disorders, as they were then called, who would benefit from treatment at the clinic. During one visit, a caretaker complained to her about the children who would scramble to pick up crumbs from the floor after meals. Maria Montessori realized that in their stark and empty environment, these children were not simply hungry, but were craving sensory experiences and activities to engage their hands. She came to understand that this deprivation was worsening their condition. Determined to learn more, she immersed herself in studying children with learning differences. She was particularly influenced by the work of two pioneering French educators from the early 19th century, Jean-Marc Attard, known for his work with the Wild Boy of Aveyron, and his student Edouard Segun, who further developed teaching methods for children with special needs. Maria Montessori was appointed co-director alongside Giuseppe Montesano of a newly established institution called the Orthophrenic School. This school served children with a wide range of developmental challenges and became a pivotal moment in Maria Montessori's career, marking her transition from physician to educator. Up to this point, her ideas about child development had been purely theoretical. However, the orthophrenic school, designed like a teaching hospital, provided her with the opportunity to apply and test these ideas in practice. Over the next 2 years, Maria Montessori dedicated herself to refining and experimenting with the educational materials originally developed by Attard and Segun. She approached the work with a scientific and analytical mindset, spending her days teaching and observing the children and her nights recording detailed notes on her findings. In 1901, Maria Montessori left the orthophrenic school and immersed herself in her own studies of educational philosophy and anthropology. And in 1904, she took up a post as a lecturer at the Pedagogic School of the University of Rome, which she held for 4 years. At the time, Rome was expanding rapidly, and amid the frenzy of speculative construction, some building companies went bankrupt, leaving unfinished projects that soon became occupied by squatters. One such development in the San Lorenzo district was salvaged by a group of wealthy bankers who carried out basic renovations and converted large apartments into small living spaces for struggling working class families. With parents away at work all day, young children were left unsupervised, causing damage to the newly restored buildings. In an effort to prevent further destruction, the developers turned to Maria Montessori for a solution to keep the children engaged during the day while their parents were gone. Recognizing this as an opportunity to apply her methods with typically developing children, Maria Montessori introduced some of the educational materials that she'd previously developed at the orthophrenic school. This led to the establishment of her first Casa dei Bambini, or Children's House, which officially opened on January 6, 1907. Maria Montessori introduced various activities and materials into the children's environment, keeping only those that truly captured their interest. She soon discovered that when placed in a setting designed to support their natural development, children had the ability to educate themselves, a concept she later called autoeducation. Reflecting on this, she wrote in 1914, "I did not invent a method of education. I simply gave some little children a chance to live." The children at the Casa dei Bambini made remarkable progress, with many 5-year-olds quickly learning to read and write. And by the fall of 1908, 5 Casa dei Bambinis were operating, 4 in Rome and 1 in Milan. News of Maria Montessori's groundbreaking approach spread rapidly, attracting visitors that are eager to witness the results firsthand. Within a year, the Italian-speaking region of Switzerland began converting its kindergartens into Casa dei Bambinis, marking the beginning of the widespread adoption of her educational philosophy. In the summer of 1909, Maria Montessori conducted her first training course, introducing her educational method to approximately 100 students. The notes she took during this time formed the basis of her first book, which was published in Italy that same year. In 1912, it was translated into English and released in the United States as The Montessori Method, quickly rising to second place on the U.S. nonfiction bestseller list. And shortly thereafter, it was translated into 20 languages, becoming a significant influence in the field of education. Montessori societies, training programs, and schools emerged worldwide, marking the beginning of Maria Montessori's lifelong mission to promote her educational philosophy. She devoted herself to sharing her approach by conducting courses and delivering lectures in numerous countries. Before and during World War I, she traveled to America 3 times, where her innovative methods gained significant attention. And on her last 2 trips, she was accompanied by her son, Mario. Maria Montessori was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 3 consecutive years in 1949, 1950, and 1951, 6 times in total for her work promoting international understanding through education. She was also recognized for her contributions to the cause of peace and the brotherhood of nations. Dr. Montessori continued traveling the world and training teachers until her death at 82, leaving an indelible mark on both education and human rights. We'd love for you to share in the comments with us something that inspires you about Maria Montessori and how her philosophy has influenced your work with children. And remember, we have lots of other great videos, so make sure that you're subscribed to our channel and that you're following along on all of our social media platforms. Until next time, Keep nurturing curiosity and the love of learning.